I sat in my car, the engine idling softly while I watched the cheerful chaos unfolding inside my parents' house. The vibrant decorations, the laughter of children, and the delicious aroma of roasted lamb and baked goods wafted through the air, teasing me with a sense of belonging that I felt I had long since lost. I could see my sister, Sarah, her radiant smile almost blinding against the backdrop of pastel colors. She was surrounded by her children, who were darting around like fireflies, oblivious to the world, just happy to be part of that moment. I felt a familiar tightening in my chest, a weight that had settled there since childhood. Why did I even come here? I muttered to myself, fingers gripping the steering wheel as if it could anchor me against the rising tide of emotions. Memories flooded my mind, scenes from my past that shaped my present. I recalled birthdays spent alone in my room while Sarah basked in the spotlight, her every achievement celebrated with fanfare. I had always been the shadow, the one who existed in the background, my efforts unnoticed, and my existence almost an afterthought. "Alissa, are you coming in?" My mother's voice echoed in my mind, full of cheer yet tinged with an expectation I knew I couldn't meet. I took a deep breath, my pulse quickening. I could already hear the laughter and excitement from within, where everyone was gathered. Everyone except me. I was always the outsider looking in, the one who had to remind herself that she was, in fact, part of this family. I glanced at the clock on my dashboard. I had promised myself that I would not spend another holiday feeling like a spare part. The last time I had tried to express my feelings, my parents had brushed me off. "Alissa, you know we love you just as much," they had said, but their actions spoke louder than words. Their favoritism was a silent but unyielding presence, a ghost that haunted every family gathering. Suddenly, a sharp memory sliced through my reverie. I could see myself standing in the corner of the room during one Easter, watching as my parents lavished their affection on Sarah's children. They had brought out the Easter eggs, their faces beaming with joy. I had stood there, clutching a small basket I had made myself, waiting for a moment of recognition that never came. "Look at how talented Sarah's kids are," my mother had exclaimed. "They can color eggs like little artists." I had felt small, invisible, and utterly alone. "Why do I even try?" I whispered, the words hanging in the air like a heavy fog. I had worked hard, sacrificed so much for this family, yet it seemed to mean little to them. The financial support I provided to my parents had always felt like a duty, a way to stay connected. But now, it felt more like a chain, binding me to a role I no longer wanted. As I sat there, a fire ignited within me. I couldn't continue this way. I had spent too many years feeling unworthy and neglected. It was time to reclaim my identity, to stop being the person they leaned on while they showered praise on Sarah and her children. With a sudden clarity, I made my decision. I would stop the financial support. It wasn't just about the money. It was about my self-worth. The thought sent a thrill through me, a mix of fear and exhilaration. My heart raced as I imagined what would happen next. Would they finally see me? Would they understand the depth of my pain? Or would they simply shift their focus to Sarah, as they always had? The possibilities swirled in my mind like leaves caught in a whirlwind. Taking one last look at the joyful gathering, I turned my car's ignition off. The laughter echoed in my ears, but I felt a newfound strength rising within me. Today was the day I would stop being the overlooked daughter and start being the woman I was meant to be. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the confrontation that lay ahead. As I stood outside my parents' house, I could hear the cheerful laughter of my sister Sarah's kids echoing through the open windows. The scent of roasted lamb and freshly baked bread wafted outside, mingling with the spring air, but it did little to warm the chill in my heart. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm of emotions swirling within me. It was time to confront Sarah about the favoritism that had plagued our family dynamics for years. I stepped into the house, the familiar decor surrounding me, a mix of nostalgia and discomfort. The living room was bursting with color, Easter decorations strewn about, but my eyes were drawn to the center of attention. My sister's children, laughing and playing as if they were the center of the universe. I felt like a ghost in my own family, invisible and overlooked. "Alissa, you made it!" Sarah exclaimed, her voice bright, but it lacked the warmth I craved. She pulled me into a tight hug, but I could sense the tension in her embrace. I pulled back, forcing a smile, but my heart was pounding with unsaid words. "Can we talk?" I asked, my voice steady despite the whirlwind inside me. Sarah raised an eyebrow, her expression shifting from jovial to cautious. "Sure. What's up?" I led her to the kitchen, where the sounds of the gathering faded into the background. I turned to her, my hands trembling slightly. "I need to talk about Mom and Dad. About how you and the kids always seem to take precedence over me." "Alissa, come on. It's just how families work. The kids need more attention. They're young," she replied dismissively, crossing her arms over her chest. "But I need attention too," I exclaimed, the frustration bubbling over. "Do you remember my birthdays? Or how I always helped out with the family but got no recognition? I'm tired of being the afterthought." "You're being dramatic," she shot back, her tone defensive. "Mom and Dad love you. They just show it differently. Family loyalty should come first, and the kids are part of that." "Is that how you justify it?" I challenged, my heart racing. "By saying that their love for you and your children is more valid than mine?" "I've been there for them, financially and emotionally. I'm tired of being treated like a second-class citizen in my own family." Sarah's eyes narrowed, and I could see the gears turning in her mind. "You're making this a bigger deal than it is. Just because they prefer to dote on the kids doesn't mean they love you any less." I felt a wave of anger wash over me. It's not just about preference, it's about acknowledgement. I have sacrificed so much for this family, and all I get in return is this constant feeling of inadequacy. You don't understand. Maybe you should just accept things as they are, Alissa. "We all have our roles to play," she replied, her voice cold, and I could feel the distance between us grow. I turned away, feeling defeated, but deep down, I knew I had to stand my ground. My internal struggle intensified as I considered the consequences of my decision to withdraw financial support from my parents. They relied on me for medical expenses, and the thought of pulling that support felt like a betrayal. But every time I saw Sarah's children being celebrated while I stood in the shadows, I felt a piece of my spirit chip away. As I headed back to my car, the weight of our conversation sat heavy on my chest. I needed to make a decision, one that could change everything. But doubt crept in. I could still hear my mother's recent words echoing in my mind. "The kids are our priority." Those words stung like a fresh wound, igniting a fire within me. I sat in my car, hands gripping the steering wheel, staring blankly at the house that had always felt like a cage. "What do I really want?" I whispered to myself, knowing the answer was buried beneath layers of hurt and longing for validation. I took a deep breath, It was time to prioritize myself for once, to reclaim my identity. As I sat in my car, parked just a few houses down from my parents, the familiar mix of dread and determination welled up inside me. I could see through the large bay window, where my sister Sarah's kids were laughing and playing, their sticky fingers grabbing at colorful Easter treats. The scent of roasted lamb wafted through the air, mingling with my thoughts of resentment and betrayal. I gripped the steering wheel tightly, feeling every beat of my heart echo my decision. This year, I wouldn't send the check. The phone rang, its shrill sound cutting through the silence like a knife. I hesitated, staring down at my phone, my mother's name flashing on the screen. I took a deep breath and answered, trying to keep my voice steady. "Hi, Mom." "Alissa," she exclaimed, her voice bright, but tinged with an edge of confusion. "Why haven't we received your Easter check yet? Your father needs those funds for his medication." I swallowed hard. I decided not to send it this month." "Not send it? What are you talking about?" Her tone shifted, becoming sharper. "We've always relied on you, Alissa. You know that." "Mom, I can't keep doing this," I replied, my voice cracking. "I'm tired of feeling like an afterthought in this family. You and Dad have made it clear who your favorites are." There was a moment of silence on the other end, a pause that felt like an eternity. "What do you mean?" "We love you, Alissa. You know that." "Do I?" I challenged, my emotions bubbling to the surface. "You've always celebrated Sarah and her kids, while I've stood in the background. I feel like I'm just a financial provider to you both, not your daughter." "Alissa, that's not fair." Her voice was rising now, frustration evident. "You know how much we appreciate you. We just what? Just prefer them?" I interrupted, my anger spilling over. "I've sacrificed so much for you, and it seems like it didn't matter at all." The line went quiet again, and I could almost hear my mother's thoughts racing. "You're being dramatic." "No, I'm being honest." I took a deep breath, feeling empowered yet scared. "I'm tired of being the backup plan. I'm withholding my support until you understand how I feel." "Alissa, wait." But I hung up before she could finish. My heart raced, a mix of fear and defiance coursing through me as I stared at the house, the laughter inside now a haunting reminder of my isolation. Later that evening, as the sun began to set, I drove away from my parents' neighborhood, the colorful decorations now a blur in my rearview mirror. I could almost hear the laughter echoing in my mind, but I felt strangely liberated. I was finally taking a stand, yet with every passing mile, doubt crept in. Had I made the right choice? I thought about the dinner table, the way my parents would shower Sarah's children with attention, their laughter drawing warmth while I sat, invisible. I remembered the years of feeling like a ghost in my own family, always trying to prove my worth through financial help. As I drove, my mind drifted to the last family gathering, my birthday, the one they nearly forgot. I had made a lovely dinner for everyone, only to see them devour the cake I had baked for my niece instead of acknowledging my efforts. That evening I had smiled through the pain, but inside, I had been breaking. Suddenly, my phone buzzed with a text from Sarah, asking if I was coming to the gathering. I hesitated, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Should I even respond? "Not coming," I finally typed, pressing send with a mix of relief and trepidation. I felt the weight of my decision settle over me, a heavy cloak of empowerment and fear. As the car rolled on, I realized that the road ahead was uncertain, but necessary. I was no longer willing to be the silent supporter, the one who gave without receiving. I would no longer allow my parents' favoritism to dictate my self-worth. The choice I made was mine alone, and as scary as it was, it felt like the first step toward reclaiming my identity. As I drove to the hospital, my heart raced, not just from the urgency of the situation, but from the whirlwind of emotions that had been building since I parked outside my parents' house that Easter. My father had collapsed at home, and my mother had called me in a panic, her voice trembling as she explained the situation. "Alissa, we need you," she had said, a plea that went against every instinct I had developed over the years. But here I was, pulling up to the hospital, feeling the weight of all our past interactions heavy on my shoulders. I stepped inside, the sterile smell of antiseptic filling my nostrils. The bright lights felt harsh, and my mind was racing with memories of my father laughing at the dinner table, his booming voice overshadowing any attempt I made to share my own stories. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for whatever confrontation lay ahead. As I approached the waiting area, I saw my mother, her face pale and drawn, sitting alone in a chair. She looked up as I approached, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of something, perhaps regret or fear in her eyes. "Alissa," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you for coming." I nodded, but the words I wanted to say were stuck in my throat. Instead, I took a seat beside her, the silence stretching between us like a chasm. "How is he?" I finally asked, breaking the tension. "They're running tests," she replied, her gaze fixed on the floor. I'm scared, Alissa." Her vulnerability caught me off guard. I had spent so many years feeling invisible, and now, in this moment of crisis, I could see a different side of my mother. "Mom," I began hesitantly. "We need to talk." She looked up, surprise etched across her features. "Now? Can't it wait until your father is—" "No," I interrupted, my voice firmer than I expected. "We need to talk about everything. About how you and Dad have treated me all these years." Her eyes widened, and I could see the walls start to go up. "Alissa, this isn't the time." "Then when is the time? You're asking me for help now, and I can't just pretend everything is fine between us." The words tumbled out, fueled by years of pent-up frustration. "Do you understand how it felt to be your second choice? Always overshadowed by Sarah and her kids? You two made it clear that they were your priority." Tears welled in her eyes, and for a moment, I thought she might deny it. But instead, she looked away, shame washing over her features. "I didn't realize. I thought I was doing what was best for the family." "Best for the family?" I echoed, incredulous. "You made me feel like I didn't belong, like my accomplishments didn't matter. I've been there for you, financially and emotionally, and all I ever got was a reminder that I wasn't enough." "Alissa, I'm sorry," she stammered, her voice breaking. "I never meant to hurt you. I just wanted to make sure everyone was happy." "Happy?" I scoffed, frustration boiling over. "You think ignoring my pain was making me happy? Do you even know who I am anymore? I'm not just your daughter. I'm a person who deserves to be loved and respected, not just when it's convenient for you." The silence that followed was palpable, heavy with unspoken truths. For the first time, I felt as if I had finally been heard. I could see my mother wrestling with her own emotions, perhaps even grappling with the mistakes she had made. "I never wanted you to feel that way, Alissa," she said, her voice trembling. "I see now. I see how I've failed you." Just then, the doctor stepped into the waiting area, and my heart dropped. I prayed that the news would be better than I feared. As he approached us, I felt a mix of dread and hope. My father's health was paramount, but now, even in this moment of crisis, I could sense that we were on the brink of a long overdue conversation. "Alissa, your father is stable for now, but we need to discuss his treatment options," the doctor said, his expression serious. I nodded, but my mind was racing. I had opened a door I wasn't sure I could close, and as the doctor led us away, I couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was just the beginning of a much larger discussion, one that would force us all to confront our past and hopefully begin to heal. As I sat in the sterile hospital room, the beeping of machines and the hushed whispers of nurses created an atmosphere heavy with tension. My father lay frail and pale on the bed, a stark contrast to the robust man I had once known. The urgency of the moment forced me to confront not only his health, but also the intricate web of emotions that had bound us as a family. I had poured my heart out to him, revealing years of hurt and neglect, and now I waited for a response that felt like it would change everything. "Alissa," my mother finally said, her voice trembling slightly as she entered the room. She looked older, wearier, the weight of guilt etched into the lines of her face. "I've been thinking about everything you said. We really didn't see you. Not like we should have." I watched her as she approached the bed, her hands reaching out to touch my father's arm. There was a softness in her eyes that I had rarely seen. "We were so wrapped up in the excitement of Sarah's children that we didn't appreciate what we had in you. I'm sorry, sweetheart." Her words hung in the air between us, a fragile olive branch. I had expected anger or denial, not this admission of regret. I felt a flicker of something, maybe hope, but I had been here before, only to be let down later. "Mom, it's not just about the kids. It's about how you made me feel invisible. How I had to fight for your attention while you celebrated every little thing Sarah's kids did." My mother nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I know. I see that now. I was blinded by my love for my grandchildren and forgot to acknowledge the daughter I had right in front of me. You've sacrificed so much for us over the years, and I took it for granted. I want to feel valued," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "It's not just about the money, you know? It's about respect and love." The silence that followed was heavy, pregnant with unspoken words and hidden feelings. My father, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke up. "Alissa, I never meant to neglect you. I thought we were doing what was best, but I realize now that I was wrong. I should have celebrated you too." He paused, taking a shaky breath. "You've always been there for us, and I'm ashamed that I didn't recognize your sacrifices earlier. Can you forgive us?" The question hung in the air, and I felt a mix of emotions swirl within me. Forgiveness was not something I could easily hand out. "I don't know, Dad. It's going to take time. You can't just say you're sorry and expect everything to be okay." "I understand," he replied, his voice thick with sincerity. "We want to change, Alissa. We want to rebuild our relationship. But it starts with us acknowledging our mistakes. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to prove that to you." I felt a warmth spread through my chest, a cautious glimmer of hope. "If you're serious about wanting to mend things, then let's talk. Let's be honest about everything. No more hiding behind the past. I need to know that you truly understand how I felt." My mother leaned closer, her eyes earnest. We'll listen, and we'll work through this together. No more favoritism, I promise." "Okay," I said, my voice steadier now. "Let's start there." As we sat together in that hospital room, I could finally see a path forward, albeit a fragile one. The layers of hurt began to peel away, revealing the possibility of a relationship based on honesty and respect. Yet in the back of my mind, I remained cautious. Words were easy to say, but actions would tell the real story. "Can we have a family dinner soon?" my father asked, his eyes hopeful. "Just us, all of us, no distractions." I nodded slowly. "Yes, but it needs to be different this time. I want us to be open about everything. No more hiding." "Agreed," my mother chimed in, a small smile breaking through her somber expression. "We'll make it work, Alissa. I promise." As we talked, the tension began to dissipate, replaced by a tentative understanding. It was a start, a fragile thread connecting us after years of distance. And while I knew that healing wouldn't happen overnight, for the first time in a long while, I felt a spark of possibility igniting within me. Maybe, just maybe, we could rebuild what had been broken. The tension in the room was palpable as I stood face to face with Sarah, my sister, just outside my parents' hospital room. The soft beeping of machines and the faint smell of antiseptic were drowned out by the thunderous beating of my heart. I had just begun to feel a flicker of hope that our family could finally mend itself, and now here was Sarah, her eyes blazing with anger. "What do you think you're doing, Alissa?" she spat, her voice low and venomous. "You think they need you now just because Dad's sick? You're not the only one who matters here." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my composure. "I'm not trying to take anything from you, Sarah. I'm just trying to be there for them. For Dad." "Right," she scoffed, crossing her arms defensively. "You've always been the good daughter, haven't you? The one who plays the martyr while I'm left to pick up the pieces? You think you can just waltz back in and take their affection away from me?" "Take their affection?" I echoed, incredulous. "You don't get it, do you? They hardly acknowledge me as it is. Do you really think I want their pity?" A silence fell between us. I could see the flicker of doubt in Sarah's eyes, but it was quickly replaced with a mask of defiance. "You don't know what you're talking about. Mom and Dad rely on me. I'm the one who's always here for them." "Rely on you?" I challenged, feeling a surge of anger. "You mean you've manipulated them into believing you're the only one who can take care of them? You've kept them dependent on you, Sarah. It's not love. It's control." Her face twisted in rage, and for a moment, I feared she might lash out. But then, something in her demeanor shifted, and she leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "And you think they'd trust you after all these years? You think they'd just forget how you abandoned them?" "Abandoned them?" I shot back, my voice rising. "I've been the one supporting them financially while you've just played the doting daughter. All I ever wanted was to be seen, to be valued." Suddenly, the door to the hospital room opened, and our mother stepped out, looking pale and exhausted. "What's going on here?" she asked, her brow furrowing with concern. "Nothing, Mom," I replied, forcing a smile. But the moment I looked into her eyes, I knew I had to say it. "Sarah's been manipulating you. She makes you think you need her, but it's all a game to keep me out." I could see the confusion swirl in my mother's eyes, and I pressed on, my heart racing. "She doesn't want you to see how much I've been there for you, how I've sacrificed so much to help this family. She's scared of losing her grip on you." Sarah opened her mouth to protest, but before she could speak, I continued. "You need to know the truth, Mom. I love you both, but I won't be your financial crutch anymore if it means being sidelined in my own family. All this time? My mother whispered, tears brimming in her eyes. We thought it was just a family dynamic. I never realized. Mom, you've got to see it. Sarah has kept you reliant on her while I've been the one to care for you in silence. Please, don't let her control this family anymore. The room fell silent, the weight of my words hanging heavy in the air. My mother looked back and forth between us, her expression shifting as realization dawned. Sarah, she finally said, her voice trembling, is this true? The color drained from Sarah's face as she opened and closed her mouth, struggling to find words. I only wanted to protect you, she stammered, but I could see the cracks in her facade. No, you wanted to keep me from being part of this family, I replied, my voice steady now. Mom, Dad, I want to help, but I need your love and respect too. My mother took a deep breath, her shoulders sinking as she seemed to let go of years of denial. We need to talk about this as a family, she said, her voice firm. No more secrets. As we stood there, the air thick with unspoken truths, I felt a sense of empowerment wash over me. This was the moment I had been waiting for. A chance to be seen, to be valued for who I was, not just what I could provide. And for the first time, I felt that my parents were finally ready to embrace a new beginning with me, one where I would be rightfully valued.